Hello, welcome to Tonalist Painting with M. Francis McCarthy. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and welcome as well to day 26 of 25 Days of Tonalism Volume 2. It's been a long ride, 26 weeks to be precise, and it's been great, half a year, right? So the painting I'm bringing you today is by an artist named George Clausen, and I don't know much about him. I don't think he wasn't technically a tonalist, but from what I'm learning, almost nobody's technically a tonalist because most or many modern art historians aren't even using the term. Whatever, I like it, and I'm going to stick with it. So there you go. Now, he's on Wikipedia, and we're going to read you a little bit about him. Sir George Clausen, 1852 to 1944, so he lived a long time, was an English artist working in oil and watercolor, etching, mezzotint, dry point, and occasionally lithographs. He was knighted in 1927. Now, being as I'm a citizen of New Zealand now, and the subject of the Queen, there's a good chance I could get knighted, so that would be awesome. I could be a knight, yeah, just for doing art. That's good. Nice portrait on the Wikipedia. I will put a link to this article on the corresponding blog post, which is going to have some larger images of this painting, and yeah, and the video, of course, will be there as well. But you're watching the video now, probably on YouTube, so you may not mind about that. Let's get back into some more about George. George Clausen was born in London, son of a decorative artist of Danish descent. Became one of the foremost modern painters of landscape and peasant life, influenced to a certain extent by the Impressionists, with whom he shared the view that light is a real subject of landscape art. Well, I could agree with that. I could. Light is a great subject. His pictures excel in rendering the appearance of things under flecking outdoor sunlight, or in the shady shelter of a barn or stable. He was a founding member of the New English Art Club, and he painted a lot. So there you go. A lot of pictures of peasants with this guy, and that's cool. I wasn't that familiar with him. I just was really attracted to this painting. His original, which you again will see on my blog, was not an actual square. I pushed it into a square just because I do things like that, and I did enjoy doing the study. I took the very different approach. In fact, it'd be difficult for me to take this sort of approach working on the darker ground that I am now. You can see I just kind of rubbed the board down with a bit of a blue-gray and started working up from that. I knew I didn't want a bunch of red peeking through. Well, I would, I could probably handle it again with the burr number, but I love painting on the burr number, and I loved painting on burnt cinnamon. Pardon me while I have a sip of tea here. Oh man, I got some stomach bug or something, so a little under the weather today, but I had to show up for day 26. It's a massive celebration. Now, I do have 25 Days of Tonalism Volume 3. It's in a box. I'm looking at it. It's on my desk. And, I actually shot a bunch of photos last week. And I had this issue where only the center of the paintings was in focus. So I've got a pretty nice new camera. I think it's probably outsmarting me. I don't know exactly what I did wrong there, but I've got to reshoot them. But I ought to be on track for rolling that out next Saturday. It's my Saturday, by the way. Your Friday. And, well, your Friday if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, like in the US or Europe. It's the 18th of November today. And it's spring here. It's very rainy. And, it's not so bad getting some rain. Why not? Yeah, this is island living, folks, Anyway, yeah, so I may or may not call 25 Days of Tonalism Volume 3 25 Days of Volume 3. I'm thinking of making a move to studies after past masters. How's that sound? That sounds pretty good, eh? Just because, I'm going to write that down if you don't mind. Just because, you know, Joe Blogs, and Joe Blogs is the English way of saying Joe Blow, by the way. We learn things like that when you live in New Zealand. Past masters. Studies after past masters. I like that. Yeah, the term tonalism, just people in the real know about it, and a lot of people don't. And I think that's one of the things that's kind of kept my channel down a little bit. But I know I'm working in a tonalist vein. You may or may not know I'm working in a tonalist vein. You might just like the paintings, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. At the end of the day, that's what matters. It's a visual media, and all the words that we use to describe it, yeah, what do they mean? You know, they're just words. One person could call it something this year, and call it something the next year, something different, and then 100 years later, something else. Now, speaking of which, what do you guys think of that $450 million supposed Da Vinci? I don't think it's Da Vinci, frankly, but what do I know? Well, I tell you what I do know. I'm an artist, and it just doesn't feel like a Da Vinci. It feels like a work of one of his students, possibly. Work. Wouldn't it be a riot if they just discovered it's an outright forgery? There is a history with this painting, though, so that's probably not the case. It's been around, but yeah, that just goes to prove my point that there's nothing more valuable than art. And a lot of people are like, oh, there's so much more important stuff going on in the world right now, and this is a lot of money just for a picture. It's not about the picture. It's about something that is unique and one of a kind. It's absolutely not replaceable. You know, you could reproduce it. You could make a study after it, like I did after George Clausen's painting here. But you can't replace the thing. It's one of a kind, and paintings exemplify that really, really well. Of course, that holds true of any creation of human hands. Anything we create is one of a kind, but paintings sort of hold a preeminent spot because they represent the evolution of human art, the finest things that people could render and communicate were done with painting. And this is, was the case. If you wanted to get a visual record of something down prior to the era of photography, you hired a painter and he worked at it. And that's one of the reasons a lot of painters were, involved in all these secret guilds and, what's the word? Secret societies and things like that, because these people were generally not stupid. They were highly educated, and they were in on it. They were in on things. They knew what was going on. So let's see, we're getting kind of close to the end. I guess it's time to do a few commercial plugs for my site. Could you go to my site, please? I've had some of you take advantage of signing up for the mailing list, and that's awesome. I'm going to I've got some pretty cool content there already. One of the main things is this video showing how I do my board prep with the texture as it is now, but I'm thinking of putting another video up that shows the board prep like I would have used for this Clausen painting here, which is really just as good in its own way. It's a subtler effect. It's not as in your face, and it's an excellent support for painting. That would be the burnt sienna with a texture, but it's a more moderate texture, and I'm thinking of sharing that out too. And other things. I'm going to, I'm just rolling it out. I've been told for years that I was supposed to get a mailing list together, and I just said, yeah, okay, I know, I should, and then I just went and did another painting. But I'm seriously working on that stuff now, and I'm seriously working on finding good markets for my art, mostly abroad, because New Zealand is just okay, but it's not very densely populated. There's not really a lot of money here either. There might be in the super high end, but access to that market, wow, Anyway, that's enough of my issues, but go to my site. I have a store there as well. Now, I'm not selling these paintings in the 25 Days of Tonalism Volume 2, but I may be selling the ones in the Past Masters series. So look out for that. That's going to be coming down the pike. I'm going to have to make up my mind about that. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. And those of you that are new subscribers, I really appreciate you signing up and watching what I do here. And I love to share my work, and I love to share, this older work that is extremely valuable and important to know about. So, again, just thanks for joining, and I'll be back tomorrow with a long-form video of one of my own pieces. And till then, I would love it if you would just please do me the favor of taking good care of yourself and staying out of trouble until I see you next time.